Hi, everyone. Hope you're looking after yourselves. Welcome to another episode of Comics 101, where we dive into the world of fantasy and all things comic book related. So today's episode is really close and dear to my heart, and this is on Game of Thrones. And it's called Two Maesters with myself, Joshua and Lola, and also with Morgan as well. And we're going to be talking through different topics about Game of Thrones, especially with the new episodes and the new series that's coming out in August. So I would like to introduce Morgan. So hi, Morgan. How's your day been today?
Hey, hello, everyone. Morgan Harringman here. My day, it has been pretty nasty. I've had this horrible cold.
No.
I've gone through probably a whole roll of toilet paper, just keeping it dammed up. So, yeah, very nice. Very good start to the middle of the week. How's your day going, Joshua?
Good, thanks. So me, even myself, I've been having a bit of a cold. I think it's just like all of the pollen in the air outside. It's just
maybe it's just
late spring.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I never really thought about that. Yeah, true. Oh well, it's good we've got that in common.
Yeah.
So, I probably think before we continue, I think we should probably start off by just saying there's going to be some spoilers, people. Like lots of spoilers. Like if you are new to Game of Thrones or you're currently watching it at the moment, just be warned. There's going to be a lot of spoilers, and I have prepared for this just to give you a quick warning. Hopefully at the right time. There we go. So I'll try and do that at the right time, but yeah, probably not going to do that at the right time. Probably going to spoil things before that comes up. So I think it'd probably be a good place to start about, what the aim of this podcast is, to talk about everything Game of Thrones in sort of the lead up to the spin-off TV show that's going to be coming out in August called House of the Dragon. And dude, am I so damn excited. Yeah. How excited are you feeling, Joshua?
I'm really excited, especially because I've read the encyclopedia of the world of Game of Thrones, been reading about also the history as well, about the Targaryen legacy. And I think I really enjoy reading the synopsis of this TV series because it's heavily linked to the books. And I think because now everything is written and everything's in stone, it's less likely for there to be any issues or delays or divergence from the book.
Cough, cough, cough. Not mentioning the last season. Yeah.
So it should be really good. And I think because it's earlier on in the Targaryen period, you have more dragons. So you're about to see more dragons, more fights between dragons. And also the fact that it is set in the past. You could also hear people that's been mentioned throughout the series, actually see them in person, which would also be good as well.
Yeah, that's true. You do hear about, so in the TV show and the books, lots of famous characters like the Mad King Ares, Aegon the Conqueror, lots of violence, lots of dragons, lots of incest. I mean, more of what the people want. Exactly. So I guess leading on from that, why are you into Game of Thrones, Josh?
Me, I would say that the reason I'm really into Game of Thrones is I can probably link it to how I actually found out about Game of Thrones. And it's really weird because I was listening to audiobooks of Lord of the Rings. I had just completed them. And then I was thinking to myself, is there any other high fantasy or fantasy worlds that I could listened to or even read into? So I was just looking on Wikipedia, and this was in 2009. And I just saw Game of Thrones, and I was like, okay, then this looks pretty interesting. And then I saw, wait, it also has a TV series slated to come out soon as well. So then I basically read the first 4 books before the series came out. And then I was just hooked, especially the way that the books always kind of they reduce the amount of power and also the influence that magic has in the world.
Yeah.
And focuses more on the people. It focuses on the politics. It focuses on the families. So you actually see really strong, in-depth characters who get built up, and we're not going to mention names right now because we haven't hit spoiler alert. But
well, we
also...
can. I've warned everyone. Like, it's inevitably going to happen, you know. Like, and I'm here just in case.
Report spoilers.
The fact that you see that these characters lifted up, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just get killed, and you're like, "Oh my days! Oh my days! How could this just happen? I didn't expect it to go this way."
I know, it's such like devilish surprises, and we all know the big deaths. So season 1, well,
yeah,
let's keep that a secret spoiler, shall we? But then the Red Wedding, Joffrey's wedding.
Yeah,
I feel awkward now if I'm going to say a spoiler. Like, I've warned everyone, but now I don't want to. But let's let them flow out naturally.
And even thinking about it. Mm-hmm. How many celebrations have people been killed in Game of Thrones?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I saw this great meme online that this couple who are really into Game of Thrones were hosting their wedding, and they had the Reigns of Castamere play at their wedding, and all the guests who'd watched Game of Thrones were in absolute hysterics. There might have been one who genuinely thought they were going to die, like just looking around at the mezzanine floor, looking for any crossbow men ready to shoot their heart out. Just never know what's going to happen. Why would I be into like Game of Thrones? Well, for me, I was never really much of a natural reader when I was younger, to be honest. I remember reading a very silly book series called Zombie Bums from Uranus. That was probably the silliest book I've ever read. But that's probably where I just started off getting into just books, really, from a very young age. And like Game of Thrones, to me, well, I started with the TV show first. I remember Sky Atlantic were like, there's this new show coming out, Game of Thrones. I was like, wow, that looks cool. It's a bit of fantasy. And, you know, I've always been a bit of a nerd. I've been into like Warhammer, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, but I'll be honest, I've never read the books. And to me, that really sort of like, oh, okay, I'll give it a watch. And like, just from the like first few episodes of the first season, I was like, oh my God, I need to show all my friends, get them all into it. I got like quite a fair few into it. And just want to say, I started watching Game of Thrones before it was cool. Not all of these like season 3, season 4 news.
Yeah.
Saw it, the posters in the streets around North London, like, oh yeah, I got to watch that. So that's sort of how I got into it, I guess. Why did I like get into it? Well, I think you picked up on it as well, Josh, that it's that sort of dark realism about it, especially in the start of the series, in the books and the TV show, that magic isn't really a thing at first. I mean, of course, you see, I watched the first episode of the first season yesterday, and what I just said is somewhat contradictory because you do see the White Walkers literally decapitate a man in the beginning. So there's a bit of magic there. But that's pushed away to one side. You don't see wizards. You don't see dragons. You just see their bones until much, much later in the first season. And even characters in the show doubt that magic exists. They know that dragons used to exist, but no one believes the White Walkers exist. And that sort of adds an element of realism because high fantasy, as you say, like Lord of the Rings. I like Lord of the Rings, but for me, it seems like another level, sort of maybe too high up there compared to Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones is gritty. It's down to earth. People get hurt. People die. Like main characters get taken away from you, such as, I'm not going to do it. Don't worry. Almost got you there. So that really appeals to me. And another thing is that realism, it also somehow like reflects real life, the mortality of everyone. Anyone can get taken away, but also like some of the social issues that come up that you can see through different characters in it. So Arya is, from the beginning described as a bit of a tomboy. She does not into the traditional girly things of the era. She wants to be like a soldier, like be a fighter, but she struggles against like dad wants her to be a princess, get married off. And then you've got other things like how the Dornishmen are treated in it. You could argue there's like elements of racism in it, and there's homophobia of what happens with Loras Tyrell. That's not a spoiler. I'll keep that under wraps. That really sort of I like that. It makes it more realistic and down to earth. And I feel like there's a trend in a lot of cinema these days to make things dark. Like, for example, look at the reinvention of the Batman series under Christopher Nolan. Like, holy cow, was that dark? Like, that was amazing. And the thing I like the most about the books is it's a character-driven story.
Yeah.
Like, you get these amazing character arcs in it. So, for example, Jamie Lannister is an absolute asshole in the beginning of the show. Like, I rewatching the first episode yesterday, just the way he acts, he's so like chatty, like real Chad energy. And you see throughout the entire series, there's this complete transition where he goes from being zero to hero. And I really like that. It's kind of reflects real life in some ways, that there's shades of gray. There's not necessarily any black and white. No one's too good and no one's too bad, and it's just really really realistic in that sense, I guess, despite it being a fantasy novel. Yeah,
and I would agree with what you're saying, Morgan. The fact that you sometimes like watch like stuff in Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, and you're like, wait a second, no one would actually do that in real life. Like, for example, like when Gandalf is like, Frodo, you need to take the ring into Mount Doom and it's going to be so much treachery. Most people will be like, sod off, keep your ring. I'm not involved with that at all.
Or flying with those eagles.
Yeah. And the fact that you do kind of like see like how normal people would react to situations in Game of Thrones. And I think that's what you were saying with the realism, is that the way that people act in Game of Thrones is what you can guess or see what people would say and act like in real life. And I think like the many different like struggles that all the characters go through, like you see some people like try and take the high road, but then you also see people who take like a middle or low road, and you see how anyone can say, you know what, I would have done what Arya did. I would have done what Jon did. I would have done what Daenerys did or what Cersei did. And you could actually relate to the characters more because you're like, they're human. They make mistakes. They do things that are wrong. And if I was in that situation, am I sure I wouldn't do what they did?
Yeah, exactly. You can put yourself in their shoes. And if you, from reading the books as well, George R. R. Martin, I think he writes from the first person in it. Does he write from the first person? I think so, because you hear the characters' thoughts. So, it's been a long time since I've read the books, to be honest, and I did not read the first A Song of Fire and Ice book, A Game of Thrones, because I'd already seen the show, but I did read all the others and the spin-offs. But yeah, you do feel like you're in their shoes, and there's some characters that like just really, really, really feel something for. And I guess I've got to find out, Josh, who is your favorite character in the show?
I would say like my favorite character in the show is like Stannis Baratheon, but it's like partly from the show and then partly from the books.
Yeah.
Like there's like a key point that both of them divert from each other. So I'll start off. The reason why I like Stannis is because I think he gets like the raw end of the stick every time throughout his whole life. So like,
he's such a go on.
No, you can go.
I was just going to say he is a very salty character. He's very bitter.
Yes. And like reading from the books, you actually find out that him, his brother Robert, and also his brother Renly, their both parents passed away and like on a boat trip. I think they went out they might have gone to Essos or Braavos and were coming back, and then their ship sank. So he lost both his parents.
Wow, bro! Spoilers, man! Spoilers! Holy cow! Came out of the blue. Although they're not even really major participants in the show, so we'll let that one slide.
Okay, so what I'm about to say now is really, really major spoilers. So if you don't want to hear, please skip out this part.
Report spoilers.
Okay, go on.
So like after the rebellion and Robert actually wins and becomes king, he gives the Stormlands to his youngest brother Renly, when in fact it should go to Stannis because he's the second eldest. So he gets
cool.
Walked over on there. And then when it comes to finding out that all of the children that Cersei has with Robert are bastards and aren't actually Robert's children, the really should go to Stannis.
This is
But then
scandalous.
Renly then walks in and says, no, but I'm the most popular. People want me to be king. That nobody likes you, Stannis. So I'm going to be king. And I think you just get to see like in his character that a person who's firm and stubborn, but then you like see in the end that he starts to change who he is, trying to become a man that he wants to be. And I think that really ends and damages his character. And like, this is a really, really big spoiler for anyone who's going to watch the show and hasn't watched beyond season 6. Like the whole part where he like burns and sacrifices his daughter just to be like
that was one of the hardest bits to watch in the whole show.
Just to be like, and I think the main issue with Stannis is that he wants to be a king so he can be just and be the best king that the Westeros can have. So he puts it that nothing will go further, will stop me from reaching that. So not his children, not his brother who he ends up killing, not innocent people. So anyone who gets in his way from becoming king, he then cuts out and kills. But the main reason I really like Stannis is his part in the book.
Yeah.
I think like in the last bit in the book is when he does get betrayed by the Karstarks, he actually finds out beforehand. So what happens is that in the books, he does get betrayed and realizes that the Karstarks are going to betray him to the Boltons.
Yeah.
But then in the books, he finds out beforehand. So we don't know what actually happens to him. But in the TV show, he doesn't find out beforehand and then ends up losing and then ends up getting killed by Brienne of Tarth because she had sworn to protect Renly, who was then killed by Stannis. So that's the reason why Stannis is one of my favorite characters. One, as you said, his saltiness, and also his legendary stubbornness. His legendary stubbornness, and the fact that he's like, I stick to the rules no matter what. I stick to the rules.
Josh, don't lie. You know, you and Jeffrey obviously have that kind of relationship. Like the drop the mic crown should have gone to you, but it went to Jeffrey, you know. And I know you'll always be bitter and salty because of that. They're brothers, by the way, in case anyone didn't know, to our millions of listeners out there. For I just say that. I do agree with you. Stannis is a very interesting character. Like he is so bitter. He's so resentful about being passed up so many times by like his brothers. In the book, as you say, like one of the things that George R. R. Martin like characterized about him is he's constantly grinding his teeth. He constantly has this locked jaw, and you know you really feel that bitterness. And another thing I thought was cool about him is he's harsh but fair. Like he, for example, the Onion Knight, Sir Davos Seaworthy, his story with Stannis is during the siege of Storm's End when Stannis was besieged within Storm's End Castle. The Onion Knight was a smuggler and he smuggled in lots of foods, including onions, hence where he got his name. And you know what Stannis did? He chopped off his fingers because that's what happens to smugglers in the Seven Kingdoms. He was, thank you, but I'm hard but fair. And you know what? I think a medieval style world like Westeros probably needs like a hard but fair ruler like that. And this is something we'll pick up on in future episodes. It's sort of like the historical basis for this show because you can see so many references to medieval Europe, but also East, sort of Orientalist themes about like the Eastern continent in this, Essos. Really, really good stuff. My favorite character, I would say, is going to have to be the most mainstream choice of all, Tyrion Lannister, because he is an absolute babe. Like, God, he is the wittiest, smartest character in the show. And from the very start, you know, you have like sort of sympathy and maybe even empathy for him because he is constantly put down for his dwarfism by his family, by the world around him, by these horrible jokes. So they call him the imp, which he doesn't like. But he owns it. One thing he says to Jon Snow in the first episode of the first series is, "You're a bastard. I'm a cripple. Wear it like a badge of honor, so that way no one can ever hurt you." You know, and that's really inspiring stuff, really. And you know, he's just such a great character throughout the show, and you get so much screen time. He deserves it. And again, my memory's a bit hazy from the books, but in the books, he even kicks ass pretty badly in battle, despite his stature. I think on a side note here, because I did say this when we were planning the production of the show. I did initially say that Tywin Lannister is my favorite character because he's the badass Machiavellian character that is the real Dick Cheney behind the George Bush. You know, he's got the Iron Throne on a string basically because he has all the money. He knows how to politic and go in with the world. And Charles Dance, what a great character, honestly, a great actor. It just goes to show that you populate a show with really great British actors, you're going to get some of the best people out there. Just repping a bit of British talent there. Although Tyrion Lannister, the character that plays him, I believe, is Canadian. So yeah, you know, it's not all about the Brits. It's not all about us. Yeah. Big characters there.
Yeah.
And I guess we can't talk about these characters without talking about like the houses, you know, as well. Like House Lannister is the richest house in the show. They're the Westerman from, if you can see on the map I've cleverly put behind me, but I can't seem to point out, that's where the Lannisters from, roughly around there. Probably going to get a lot of hate mail from people, I reckon, because we've probably said some inaccurate stuff already in this show. But yeah, feel free to send your hate mail to us. We'll listen to it and try and correct it at some point. Who would you say your favorite house is?
I would say like my favorite house would be stereotypical, the Starks, just because like the amount of stuff that they go through, like. And I think like the Starks are like in the books, it's written as if the Starks are like the main characters. And like you have like chapters, I think you've got chapters on all of them apart from Bran, because I think maybe because he was just too young.
Really?
Not
hang
Bran.
Hang on.
No, not Bran. His younger brother. Who was the youngest brother again?
Rickon, yeah.
Rickon, yes.
Yeah.
So you had chapters on all
Who
of them
gives a shit about Rickon?
Apart from Rickon. And it just shows that the show doesn't, but having him just at the end, the second to last season, getting shot in the back by Ramsay Bolton.
Yeah, he should have. Why didn't he run in zigzags? Someone's firing a bow at you. Just run in zigzags, dude. Like, come on, give yourself a chance. Poor fella.
And the fact that the amount of stuff that they go through, and I think you also see how they like develop. So you see like Sansa goes from this whole, oh, I'm a princess type person, to turning into almost like a Littlefinger type person when she betrays him. And then she also realizes how much power she has, especially with her connection with the Arryn family, which she then used to get rid of Littlefinger. And I also think like you see like the development of Arya Stark as well, from this tomboyish girl who tries to do good, but who then turns into this ultimate Avenger who's who'd put like the Marvel's Punisher to shame with the amount of people that she ends up killing it in the last 3 seasons of Game of Thrones. You also like see
you get some good revenge as well there.
Definitely, yes, especially revenge for the Red Wedding. And I think like definitely spoilers for that one. And that you also see with like Jon, you see that he's just as green as Arya, and you see that when he goes to the wall, all he wants to do is like wallow in self-pity that, as you said, that he's a bastard and unfortunately he won't be able to spend life with the rest of his family. And that he kind of like owns it, and then being able to then turn that into becoming a major point and major figure in Westeros, and also being in charge of the, oh my days, what are they called again?
Night's Watch.
Yep, they're becoming the head of the Night's Watch and actually leading them as well. And the fact that he also led them into battle against the White Walkers and actually led them successfully into battle. And then you see that how he grows as a character. And also then you can't also forget Bran and his story arc. And the fact that
he tells the best stories. That's the best bit about Bran. He tells the best stories, and that's why he should be king. And
the fact that he has the most weirdest story arc in the whole whole of Game of Thrones. The fact that he's gone from this child who becomes crippled after being pushed out of a window. Spoilers by Jamie.
I've given up on
it. By Jamie because he sees Jamie and Cersei having an affair together. He then
incest.
Then survives an assassination attempt later on in season 1 and in the first book.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Someone comes to try and kill him in his sleep, and then I think that's when
the dog.
Yeah, the direwolf saves him, and then also his mother as well. She basically, Catelyn Stark, holds the blade with her hand and literally slits her hand because she's trying to keep him safe. And then you see his journey, the fact that Winterfell falls because of the Iron Men, and then also because of Ramsay Bolton as well. And you see them having to him go to then become the Three-Eyed Raven, and then him then also pulling the strings to then help to bring down the King of the White Walkers.
Yeah, that's true. Can I just say, man, you just completely spoiled that. I think about half the show for our viewers out there. And you know what? We don't care. That's not what this podcast is about. But yeah, you know what? There is a lot of there's so many character arcs there. Sansa going from like this powerless, naive individual to becoming this powerful, like Queen of the North in the end. You know, what a great transition. And got to point out here with Bran as well, the fact that he becomes king of Westeros at the end of the TV show. God awful. Like, who should we pick as the king? Oh, I know. Let's pick Bran because he tells the best stories. Dude, like, come on. So many people out there tells the best stories. Like, come on, George R. R. Martin tells the best stories. Let's make him king of the UK, the United Kingdom. Like, such a silly reason.
And even the fact that Jon, it's his throne kind of like by right, because the fact that he is a Targaryen, and the fact that his father did get actually married before he then went on to fight Robert Baratheon.
Yeah.
And so his father Rhaegar was actually destined to be king, him being the son of Rhaegar and a Targaryen, and there's no Baratheons left. Technically, the throne should directly go to Jon, but as you said, they pick someone who has the most interesting stories to be king of the Westeros.
Yeah, that'll keep people entertained for like maybe a year or so. And like, okay, now we need like fear actually keeps this place in check, not like good stories. Such a silly ending. I think Jon Snow got such tortured artist syndrome. Like, he's hot. He's clearly talented with a sword. Like, he's got talent like most artists, but just whenever something comes his way, he's like, no, I don't want it. And then he ends up taking it reluctantly, like becoming Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and then going to battle and all this stuff.
Becoming the King of the North as well.
Yeah.
Which was also reluctant as well.
Dude, like, come on, like, learn to, change is going to happen. Stop being such a teenager about it. Like, come on, sometimes you're thrown into situations you don't want to be in. Just own it, bro. Own it.
Accept the responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is some difficult responsibility. He does get stabbed by everyone under his command in the Night's Watch. Oh, spoiler, whoops, did it again.
Comes back from the dead.
Yeah, that's double spoiler. Yeah, exactly. I will say that's an interesting point in the books where it differs from the TV show. The books so far. Correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe if you don't know, perhaps one of our billions of audience members out there can correct me. But I think the books have ended where Jon Snow has just been stabbed to death or at least perceived to be stabbed to death by the Night's Watch. Has he been resurrected in the books? Do you remember?
Yeah. So like in the book that came out when the series was running, he then comes back to life. So the way the books end is that Ramsay sends a message to, no. I think, he is dead in the books, because what happens is that, as I remember, Daenerys Targaryen was preparing to come to Westeros. And she had the issue she had in Meereen, and she also had a revolt, and she had been saved by one of her dragons because they had tried to do a revolt in the arena That's how her side of the story
Yeah.
paused. The story concerning Jon was that he Stannis had lost against Ramsay Bolton, because he was betrayed by the Karstarks, and he sends a message to Jon Snow, and Jon Snow basically reads the message out to everyone in the Night's Watch, which is, for everybody, a big mistake. You shouldn't read a private message which is a threat to everyone who's around you, so they can hear and also be afraid. And
it's
basically
like, it's like when you show off someone's WhatsApp messages to you during an argument. It's like a big no-no, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, go on, sorry.
And like tells him that, oh, I want my wife back, who is Sansa. This is where everything gets tricky, because that girl isn't actually Sansa. It's one of her friends who's pretending to be Sansa.
Yeah.
And that the person they send to save Sansa and bring her back is actually the king beyond the wall. Because they pretend to kill him, and then they trade it for a Rattleshirt, and they burn Rattleshirt instead. So they send him to save Sansa, and they bring the fake Sansa to Jon, and Jon's like, "You're not Sansa."
Wow, my sister's changed so much. I mean, her character arc is so big, you could argue she's changed so much. Yeah, that's gaslighting. That's definitely gaslighting.
So then Ramsay, he reads the letter out. Ramsay's basically saying, I've killed Stannis. I hold the North. Send me back your sister, because he thinks it's actually Sansa. Send me back your sister. Swear fealty to me, basically, or I'm coming to kill you. He then says, no, I'm not. I'm going to reclaim the North for the Starks, and and who's with me? People say, yes, we're with you. He then goes to leave. And as he's preparing to leave to go and fight Ramsay, he then gets stabbed in the back by multiple people.
For the Watch, yeah. And they say that just before they do it. Yeah, that's a really cool scene, because there's like a really young member of the Watch, like this boy who's joined up, and even he like stabs him as well. And it's quite like a emotional moment. You see that in the TV show as well, although not in the same way as you just described, but you do see that boy come and stab him. Yeah, holy shit. I mean, I've had some bad days at work at the office, but I think Jon Snow's Lord Commander of the Night's Watch definitely takes the biscuit. Holy cow. But there's just so many cool things in this show, like the Night's Watch basically being like a penal guard force watching over a giant wall. And they take this oath where they can't father any children. They cannot hold any lands. But all their crimes are forgiven if they take the black and go serve at the wall. And just really cool sort of idea for that. And I wonder where George R. Martin got his inspiration for that from.
It could be partly from, the French Foreign Legion.
Oh, was that a similar thing back in the day?
Yeah, I believe so. It was similar, because I think a lot of the people who went to fight for the French Foreign Legion were criminals, people who had committed crimes, but if they joined the French Foreign Legion and survived, it was extremely unlikely for them to survive, but if they did, then they would basically be absolved of the crimes that they'd committed.
Ah, right. That's interesting. I suppose, like, especially their motto is like informal motto they have is march or die. So I guess it's a pretty serious place to work, especially like the Night's Watch. A lot of them must die. Yeah, and then we haven't even touched on like what's going on in Essos. I've got a point in my way. This big, like, continent behind me that looks a lot like Russia, surprisingly. Daenerys, like, what a bloody character! What a great character that is. And again, what a character arc. She starts off as a timid, somewhat abused sister of, what was it, Viserys Targaryen? Yeah, just watching from the first episode again yesterday. It's horrible. Like he basically sexually abuses her. He assaults her, intimidates her, marries her off to what is regarded as a savage, Khal Drogo, just so he can get on his phone. And dude, there's some funny moments in that first episode. Like Khal Drogo they're at the wedding between Khal Drogo and Daenerys, and like some bloodshed between the Dothraki, like one of them kills them, and like Viserys turns around to his advisor, and the advisor says, "A Dothraki wedding without at least 4 deaths is considered quite a dull affair." And then, then when Daenerys gets like a wedding present from Khal Drogo of these lovely horses, she turns around to Jorah Mormont's like, "How do I say thank you in Dothraki?" And Jorah Mormont's like, "There is no word for thank you in Dothraki." I was like, picked up on it so well, like really characterized these people portrayed as savages really well. But as the story develops, you see Daenerys actually become part of them, learn the language, actually be somewhat like accepted by them, although there's some Dothraki who don't really accept her. But and she just owns it. She gets dragons. She liberates people from slavery. But then by the end of the show, the TV show, because the books once again haven't got that far, she has become the monster. She has become that which Jon Snow knows he must destroy. And I've got to admit, the final series was absolutely dog shit. But that was one thing I thought felt kind of right, that Jon Snow had to kill her. Because again, based on what the name of the books is, A Song of Fire Ice, I thought Jon Snow is the Song of Ice and she is the Song of Fire, and that's how they connect, and then that's the ultimate ending between them. Oh, well, you spoiled the first 50% of the show. I spoiled the last 50%.
Yeah, and even to what you're saying about Daenerys, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, I didn't see this coming," but then I was like, if you actually watch the show, you kind of see when she gets her Unsullied and she then has to trade one of her dragons, she then realizes to herself, wait a second, I have the Unsullied, I have dragons. Why can't I just take the Unsullied, take my dragons, and just leave? And I think that was the point that she realized that how much power she actually had because of her dragons and also because of her name. And then you also see it in Meereen when she like executes a lot of the nobility who were against her, even those who were innocent, just because they had, which was also wrong what they did, crucified a lot of children, pointing slave children towards Meereen. Yeah, so she took her own way back. And even like the fact that Sir Barristan Selmy was like, I don't really think you should do this. And like, even like Jorah Mormont was like, no, I don't think you should do this either. But the fact that she still went on and still went through with it. And I think the last bit that you can see that she was changing was when she killed Sam's family, like his father and his brother. All she really needed to do was she could have just arrested them, but she's like, no, because they stood against me, they must die. And I think you started to see how she was changing and how she was changing to the character you then end up seeing at the end of the last season. But I think the real issue is that because a lot of the fans have read at least some of the books, they're like, oh, but the book Daenerys, we don't think she would have been like that. And I think that's why they got a lot of pushback. And I think a lot of the things that was really sad was that a lot of people saying, oh, look at Daenerys, she's a perfect power, embodiment of woman power, the perfect embodiment of what a woman leader should be. And people have been saying that like since season 3 and saying that this show is women empowerment. And then to then end on that basically says, okay, then this is what a woman leader does. Yeah. And I think certain people were like really upset. Like even like you saw the memes of online, like, oh, I just named my daughter Daenerys.
Yeah. I see what you mean. But to me, I think it just shows that everyone has the possibility to be corrupted by power in real life and in this show. You know, Daenerys started out, she was trodden upon, she was betrayed, she took power, she freed people, she was a really great force for like change, like revolutionary in the Game of Thrones world. But fortunately the TV show completely rushed it. Like they really should have fleshed out a bit more. But you see what she does become. And I guess I haven't really read into a lot of the controversy, like some of the social controversies that our media might have attached to the show. Because to us, I'm such a big nerd. I just get so involved in the lore and stuff that as soon as I hear people talking shit about my show, I just walk out the room.
Yeah, tune it out. Yeah.
But that could be a potential episode we could do. I mean, let's be clear. We're definitely going to do an episode about why the last series was terrible. We're definitely going to do an episode where we can delve into some more of the characters, some of the regions and houses. An episode we can talk about the social issues as well, like within the show, but also what sort of drama was going on in the real world surrounding the show. That would be really good.
Yeah. And then maybe like have one like the differences between the books. We've mentioned some of them right now.
Yeah.
But the differences between the books and also with the television series as well would be something interesting to delve into.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that would be a really big episode. There'll be a lot to talk about there. And, even talk about the spin-off books as well. I mean, obviously we'll have to talk about Fire and Blood because that's what House of the Dragon is based off of. But the other one, what was it called? What was the one with Egg and Duncan?
Oh yeah, the short stories. Yes,
yeah, that one's quite good actually. That was surprisingly like entertaining and somewhat lighthearted. And my favorite saying in that is whenever Egg, the little boy, did something naughty, Duncan would be like, "Do that again, and I'll clout you in the ear." Like just imagining a grown man smacking a small little boy in the ear like that. It's quite darkly amusing for me. I've got quite a evil soul, you could say. But yeah, we could go on and on for ages about this show. There's so much to talk about, so much deliciousness, and me and you are clearly massive nerds.
Yes,
we are two maesters. We are two maesters. A maester in the show is a scholar, and let's call ourselves scholars for now because I can forgive myself the amount of time I spent on my life on this show. Holy cow. I think it's about time that we come to a slow and lovely end there. And I just want to say a huge thank you to you, Joshua, for taking me on board and being such a great host on this show. I want to thank Jeffrey as well from Drop the Mic for helping set this up. And I really want to thank Sephi for being our Lord of Spiders in the background, communicating and getting things done. To our audience as well for listening, if you really want to hear the full episode, make sure you subscribe to our Patreon page. The link will be sent out down below as part of our show. If you want to hear more from us, the Two Maesters, then make sure you subscribe to the channel or follow us on the podcast on whatever listening platform you're using. If you like the video, a like and a comment is always appreciated, believe me. And make sure you click the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. And remember, winter's coming.
Definitely.
And spoilers.
Many spoilers.
I think we've gone through too many though. I don't think there's any left, so that's good. Got all done.